But I think Silicon Valley is now moving out of IT innovations into other areas like space and clean technologies and electric vehicles. Where do you see the next, wave of innovation heading towards in Silicon Valley?
So I wouldn't say Silicon Valley is moving out of IT or mobile or internet. It's still very active, but clearly more areas have been added. If I look at clearly some of the pure science-based startups are easier to do in Silicon Valley because there's if I just sort of look at the number of PhDs per 1,000 people, no other place in the world matches. Most places, if you have a college degree, you're way above the median. In Silicon Valley, you're way below the median. Almost everybody has advanced degrees. So it's easier to do if you're doing science-based research like solar cells or new kinds of engine designs. It's easier to do in that part of the world, or biotechnology. But new areas that I'm actually pretty bullish about, mobile health is going to be a very big area, I think. It's getting a lot of attention in Silicon Valley now. And it's enabling unusual things like this device I like to show. So this is just an iPhone with a case with two little things on the side. But I don't know how many of you seen it. When I start this application and hold those two little things, this becomes an EKG machine. So suddenly you have an EKG machine that's almost dirt cheap. You can give it away. It's much less than the cost of getting an EKG.
Yeah.
So you can start to do new kinds of things, and there's probably a dozen things like this that we've invested in. A dozen things like this. And then there's all the health-oriented things like jawbone wristbands and all that kind of thing. So that's a very rich area. It's like a wristband, measures your straps, and I gave one to my brother and to his wife last week, and now even when we are talking, they're walking around the room because they're competing with each other on who gets more steps. Yeah. So there's a lot of activity like that. I think new area that's becoming more important is data mining and machine learning. It's starting to replace human judgment in many, many areas. The driverless car is just one example. It's making all the judgments a human being would make while driving. Yeah. But that's being applied to advertising, to medicine, to all these areas. So that's a big area.
Space technologies?
Space technology is definitely getting some attention, probably not
as much.
There are clearly good exceptions. SpaceX is doing a very good job. We've just invested in a rocket launching company in New Zealand. So we have a satellite company that's about to be launched here in the next few months on a Russian launcher. The other area we've been doing more things in, but not yet popular, is food and agriculture. New kinds of interesting technologies in food and agriculture, because that area has not been subject to much innovation.
How much are you invested in it?
We don't talk about amounts.
So making animal foods without genetically cloning them?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing?
Well, we're doing all kinds of interesting things. We're even making candy that's healthier than your regular candy. That's valuable.
Yes.